What if I told you the world's most iconic luxury brand was born from a runaway boy who had nothing, no shoes, no money, no family behind him? Just a wild belief that his life could be different. Sounds like fiction, right? But it's not. It's the shocking story of Louis Vuitton, and you won't believe how it all started. Forget what you think you know about luxury. This isn't about fashion shows or designer handbags. This is about grit, starvation, rejection. It's about a kid who walked for 150 kilometers on foot just for a chance to survive. And that journey, it almost didn't work. But what happened next? Change everything. No one saw it coming. A poor orphan with calloused hands would go on to build a brand that now defines wealth, power, and timeless prestige. But behind the glitz, there's a hidden lesson most people miss. A blueprint for success so raw and real it'll make you question everything you thought success required. You're not just about to hear a story. You're about to feel it through war, betrayal, reinvention, and billion-dollar decisions. This isn't just how Louis Vuitton became a symbol, it's how a boy became a legend. And by the end, you might just see your own journey differently. So let me ask you, are you ready to learn the truth behind the monogram, the secret behind it, what no one tells you? Because this isn't just business history. This is the most powerful transformation you've never heard told like this. Topic 1. Humble beginnings. Was just a boy when life hit him hard. Born in 1821 in the French countryside, Louis Vuitton didn't come into the world with wealth, fame, or even comfort. His mother, a milliner, passed away when he was only 10. And that loss, it shattered whatever peace he had left. You won't believe this, but that moment would set everything in motion, carving out the path for legacy. With his father too broken to guide him, and his stepmother who treated him more like a burden than a boy, home became a place to escape, not to grow. No one saw it coming, but at the age of 13, Louis made a decision most adults wouldn't dare. He ran away. Just a child, carrying nothing but a stubborn will, he left his village on foot heading toward Paris. Now, imagine that. A barefoot teen walking for 150 kilometers through fields, forests, and harsh roads. He begged for food, slept in barns, worked odd jobs just to keep going. This wasn't a travel story, it was survival. And here's the shocking part. It wasn't just about reaching a city. It was about proving to himself that the world had more to offer than misery. Most people would have given up by kilometer 20. But Louis, he kept walking. That kind of grit, it's rare. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, and this changed everything. When life gives you absolutely nothing, the smallest opportunity becomes your entire world. Louis was about to find this hidden lesson. It's simple yet brutal. The hardest moments shape the strongest foundations. If you're in a tough place now, don't just endure it, study it. What's it teaching you? Louis didn't have a mentor, a roadmap, or even shoes, but he had a decision. And that decision kept him moving. You might be wondering, what kind of future waits for a runaway with no money, no connections, no education? The truth revealed itself later, but in that moment, all he knew was stopping wasn't an option. And that one mindset, keep walking, has built more empires than any MBA. What no one tells you is how long the road really feels when you're hungry, scared, and alone. But for Louis, every painful step to Paris was a brick in the foundation of something far greater. This wasn't the story of a boy getting lucky, it was a story of a boy refusing to lose, and it could have ended here. He could have collapsed in a ditch, gotten lost, given up. But he didn't, and because he didn't, something incredible was waiting for him in Paris, a shop, a master craftsman, and the beginning of a skill that would turn him into a legend. Topic 2. The apprentice years. When Louis finally reached Paris, exhausted and underfed, it wasn't a grand welcome that greeted him. It was noise, chaos, a city booming with industry, bursting with ambition, and not a single soul who cared that he had just walked for 150 kilometers to get there. But what really happened next would shape his destiny in a way no one expected. He found work in a small atelier owned by a master trunk maker named Monsieur Marechal. Now, this wasn't just a job, it was an entrance into a secret world. You won't believe this, but luxury back then wasn't about low gas or status. It was about precision, function, art, and Louis? He watched every detail like his life depended on it because, frankly, it did. From cutting leather to shaping wood, he absorbed it all like a sponge. Day after day, hands blistered and eyes heavy, he didn't just work, he studied. That's the secret behind it. Mastery doesn't come from talent, it comes from obsession. What no one tells you is how much boredom and repetition hides behind the word genius. He became known for something unusual: his silence. He listened more than he spoke, observed more than he questioned. There's a hidden lesson here. When you're the least experienced in the room, your power is in absorbing, not in proving. Louis had no ego, just hunger. And that made all the difference. Clients started noticing his touch. The way he could adjust a box by millimeters to make it fit perfectly. The truth revealed itself slowly. Louis wasn't just learning a craft. He was learning how to serve people, how to understand what travelers needed before they even said it. That's what separated him. It almost didn't work. He could have been dismissed as just another orphan boy in a sea of apprentices, but his work spoke volumes. Even Monsieur Marechal couldn't ignore it. And here's what really changed everything. Louis wasn't just making trunks. He was imagining better ones, sharper, smarter, lighter, and no one saw it coming. The shock. He didn't rush to open his own store. He waited, perfected, watched. Most people chase recognition too fast, but Louis, he chased readiness. It's a mindset few adopt, but it's the reason he didn't just become successful, he became iconic. That's the hidden difference. And just as he began mastering the old ways, he started spotting cracks in tradition, flaws in function, limitations in style. It was only a matter of time before he changed the game entirely. The streets of Paris had taught him how to survive, but this workshop, it was teaching him how to build. Topic 3: Reinventing luggage. Louis had seen it all by then: how trunks bent, broke, and bloated with time. Heavy, rounded, clumsy, they weren't built for the modern traveler. The shocking story, no one questioned it. For centuries, people just accepted that travel meant inconvenience. But Louis, he didn't, and that's where everything started to shift. You won't believe this, but he obsessed over luggage not as containers, but as companions. Most trunks were dome-shaped to repel rain, but that shape made them impossible to stack. It was inefficient, bulky, and completely outdated. Louis saw that flaw, and where others saw tradition, he saw an opportunity. A hidden lesson disguised in inconvenience. In 1858, he made a move no one expected. He introduced the flat-top trunk. Sounds simple, right? But this changed everything. Crafted from lightweight gray canvas, waterproof, durable, and stackable, Louis had just invented the first modern trunk. And the world, it had never seen anything like it. It almost didn't work. People were skeptical. To flat, they said. To new, but Louis doubled down. He didn't just invent a trunk, he created a travel system. His trunks were more than objects, they were solutions. This is what no one tells you about innovation. It's not about being different. It's about being useful. What really happened next was wild. Elite travelers began to notice, not just because of the design, but because the trunks worked. Carriages could carry more, trains could load faster, staff could stack smarter. You may not realize it, but one change in shape, just a lid, shifted an entire industry. The truth revealed: function sells, luxury always has. Louis wasn't chasing attention, he was chasing performance. And ironically, that's what made the world pay attention. People talk about disruption today like it's a tech thing. But Louis disrupted with canvas and nails. That's real innovation. So, what can you learn from this? Simple. Look at what's broken, what's slow, what frustrates people, and fix it in a way no one dared before. That's where success hides. Think about your daily life. What takes longer than it should? What doesn't fit where it needs to? That's your flat-top trunk moment waiting to happen, and as demand began to rise, something else emerged. The world didn't just want a better trunk, they wanted his trunk. Suddenly, this quiet craftsman had the attention of Europe's elite. But Louis wasn't finished, not even close. He knew design alone wouldn't build a dynasty. He needed a name and a place. Topic 4. Building the brand. In 1854, Louis made a move that would change not just his life, but luxury history. He opened his first workshop on Rue Neuve des Capucines in Paris. A small sign outside bore a name the world barely knew yet: Louis Vuitton. It could have ended here. A humble shop, a skilled craftsman, a few curious clients. But no, this is where the legend really began. You won't believe this, but one of his earliest customers was Empress Eugenie, wife of Napoleon III. Think about it. One day, he's a runaway boy. The next, he's designing for royalty. No one saw it coming, but here's the hidden lesson: excellence isn't loud. It whispers, and the right people hear it. Working for the Empress wasn't just an honor, it was strategy. The elite followed her every move. If she trusted Vuitton, they would. 2. What no one tells you is that the fastest way to grow a brand isn't shouting, it's aligning with power. Louis didn't advertise, he aligned. Quietly, brilliantly, the truth revealed. He created not just a product but an aura. Walking through his door didn't just mean buying luggage. It meant entering a lifestyle, a world of refined taste, travel, and quiet status, and that's what changed everything. He wasn't selling trunks, he was selling the dream of movement. But don't get it twisted, it wasn't all velvet and success. Louis was meticulous, obsessed with quality. If his seam was off by a hair, it was redone. His shop didn't smell like wealth, it smelled like glue, wood shavings, and long nights, and still, clients came back because they felt the difference. This shocking story? He refused to cut corners, even as demand exploded. That's what people miss. Growth is seductive. Scaling fast is tempting, but Louis knew one bad piece, one failed delivery, and the dream cracks. He protected the brand like it was sacred. Because to him, it was. You can learn from this. If you're building something, anything, focus on consistency first, scale later. Don't just chase more followers, clients, or sales. Ask yourself, is every single interaction with what I create a proof of quality? That's what earns loyalty. That's what builds empires. And while the world of travel was evolving rapidly, trains, steamships, the rise of global tourism, Louis positioned himself at the center of it all. But success brings storms. And just when it seemed he'd carved out a kingdom, war came. And with it, the test of a lifetime. Topic 5. Rising through ruins. In 1870, the Franco-Prussian War erupted and Paris turned into chaos. Businesses shuttered, streets emptied, fear took over, and Louis, he lost everything. His workshop was looted, destroyed, left in ruins. This wasn't just a business hit, it was a personal blow. After decades of building, it almost didn't work. It almost ended here, but here's the shocking story. While most entrepreneurs would have quit, Louis stayed. You won't believe this, but he refused to leave Paris. He didn't just rebuild, he relocated with purpose, not to some quiet street, but to a prime spot right next to the Place Vendôme, surrounded by luxury hotels and bustling train stations. That move, genius. It wasn't just rebuilding, it was repositioning. Louis knew the truth most people miss. After every crisis, people still move, still travel, still crave beauty. What no one tells you is that luxury isn't about indulgence, it's about experience. And that experience begins with how the brand rises from the ashes. Imagine the scene. Paris recovering from war, yet this new Vuitton store opened sleek, elegant, precise. It stood like a statement, a declaration that refinement survives chaos. Customers returned, slowly at first, then in waves. The hidden lesson: people are drawn to resilience. They trust those who don't break, and Louis didn't stop there. He adapted. Travel was shifting: steamships, railroads, long-distance voyages. So he redesigned his trunks to fit train compartments, reinforced corners, stronger locks, more modular stacking. While the world rebuilt, he reimagined. That's what changed everything. What really happened is this: the war gave him clarity. He didn't just rebuild to survive, he rebuilt to scale. He began training apprentices, expanding the team, elevating his brand beyond the workshop. From here on, Louis Vuitton wasn't just a man. It was becoming a movement. You can learn from this mistake. After every personal war, whether it's financial, emotional, or professional, don't aim to just return. Aim to evolve. Ask, what did the fire burn away? And what's worth rebuilding better? Sometimes the setback isn't a detour. It's the path, and while his hands still shaped every design, his vision now stretched far beyond Paris. The crisis didn't kill the brand. It forced it to grow teeth, and soon, someone new would carry that vision further, someone born not just to preserve his legacy, but to protect it with innovation. Topic 6. Legacy and innovation. After Louis passed, many expected the brand to fade. After all, he was the brand. But what no one tells you is this: sometimes the next chapter is even bolder than the first. Enter Georges Vuitton, Louis' son, quietly brilliant, strategically bold, and obsessed with protecting what his father built. And that's when things took a sharp turn. You won't believe this, but Georges wasn't just maintaining the legacy, he was reinventing it. One of his first moves, create a locking system so secure it baffled even professional thieves. The tumbler lock wasn't just protection, it was a message. You're not just buying a trunk. You're buying security, prestige, trust. But the real game changer, the iconic monogram. Those interlocked LV initials, surrounded by flowers and geometric motifs designed in 1896 to stop counterfeiters. Think about that. Before brand protection was even a concept, Georges was already ahead. The secret behind it: turn your identity into art, into something so bold it's impossible to fake. This changed everything. The LV monogram wasn't just design, it was defense. It protected the brand, elevated the product, made it recognizable from across a train platform. That's the hidden lesson here. Your brand should speak even when you don't. Loudly, instantly, permanently. Georges also expanded the business like never before. New stores, new audiences, new product lines. He didn't wait for trends, he created them. He treated travel as a lifestyle, a culture, a future. And Louis Vuitton was the suitcase of that future. The shocking story: he turned luggage into luxury. What really happened next was even more impressive. The brand didn't just survive to world wars, it thrived through them. Factories pivoted, materials changed, but the essence unshakable. Because they'd built more than a product, they'd built a promise. And promises, when protected, outlive everything. You can learn from this mistake many make, trying to protect what's been built by freezing it in place. Georges didn't preserve his father's legacy in a box. He expanded it, protected it. Through progress, ask yourself, what part of your vision needs protecting? And what part needs reimagining? And as the world began to open up, airplanes, automobiles, global fashion, Louis Vuitton evolved once again. The torch was burning, the brand was growing, and soon, a whole new level of ambition would enter the story. One driven not just by passion, but by power. Topic 7. Global empire and LVMH. By the 1980s, the world was changing fast. Global markets, booming economies, rising luxury culture. But even with a century of legacy, Louis Vuitton was at a crossroads. That's when Henry Rackemeyer stepped in, a former steel executive with the vision and guts to scale the brand like never before. You won't believe this, but he saw a path no one dared to walk. His first move: expand aggressively, international boutiques in major capitals, strategic advertising, and a brand strategy so polished it could rival any Fortune 500 company. It almost didn't work, though some insiders feared it would dilute the heritage. But what really happened? It did the opposite. It globalized the dream. Then came the shock. Rackmeyer led a bold merger in 1987, uniting Louis Vuitton with Moët and Chandon and Hennessy. Wine, champagne, fashion, that union, it birthed LVMH. The secret behind it wasn't just diversification, it was domination. Suddenly, Vuitton wasn't one brand, it was part of the largest luxury group on earth. The truth revealed itself quickly. LVMH had scale, influence, and capital. But what it needed was someone ruthless enough to turn it into a machine. Enter Bernard Arnault. No one saw it coming. A quiet, cold strategist who would eventually become the richest man in the world. And it started with Vuitton. Arnault didn't just lead LVMH, he restructured it. Streamlined the operations, cut dead weight, pushed for high-margin growth, and turned Louis Vuitton into the crown jewel. The hidden lesson? Emotion builds a brand, but systems scale it. Without one, the other collapses. You might think this is where the story ends: global success, billions in revenue, fashion week dominance. But what really happened is deeper. Arnault treated Vuitton not as a fashion label, but as a cultural force. He invested in heritage, designers, stores that looked like museums. And customers felt it. They still do. It could have ended here, a logo on a shelf. But it didn't, because Arnault didn't just want Vuitton to sell. He wanted it to matter, and that's what keeps people coming back. That emotional connection, the legacy, the story behind the symbol. That's what no one tells you about billion-dollar brands. And today, Louis Vuitton is worth over $30 billion. A name recognized in every airport, every capital, every generation. From a barefoot boy who walked for 150 kilometers to a global empire spanning continents. But before we close the story, let's take a step back and ask, what can you take from all this? So now you know, Louis Vuitton wasn't just a name on a label, it was a fight for survival, a bold choice to walk when others stood still. A story of reinvention that started with nothing and ended with a billion-dollar legacy. But here's the part that really matters. What will you do with the story? Will you keep waiting for the perfect time, the right resources, the support? Or will you realize, like Louis did, that you already have the most important thing? The decision to start. The truth revealed in his journey is simple. Success isn't handed down. It's carved, step by painful step. What no one tells you is that your background doesn't define your future, your choices do. So, what choice are you going to make after watching this? Will you walk toward your own Paris, even if it's 450 kilometers away? Will you build something that outlives you? Leave a comment below and tell us, what's the trunk you're building? What's one obstacle you're ready to walk through starting today? Let's make this comment section a place where legacies begin. And if you want to keep learning the untold truths behind the world's greatest success stories, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon and turn on notifications, because the next legend we uncover might just be the one that inspires your transformation.